We are going to be moving into a longer practice shortly, and I want to contextualize a few things before we do that. I don't want to talk too much at you, but I do want to mention a couple things. And so when we're focusing more heavily today on presence and witness-based consciousness, it's to start to open up an avenue to what looks like there's more choice, to what feels like there's more choice. And the way the mind, the conscious, the unconscious, and the subconscious mind is wound, the way the nervous system works, is that we are constantly seeking a state that feels both normal, familiar, and familial, okay? And so even if we're doing something that we know is addictive and unhelpful, if we're involved in patterns of eating or relationship or stagnation or catastrophic thinking, even if we're in those states that we know are not helpful, a lot of the times it doesn't matter that we know they're not helpful or that we want them to change. This is a hardwired system. Even though the mind is very plastic and it's such a programmable system, it's designed to hold the state that worked yesterday. Okay, and by yesterday, I mean before, last year, last 10 years. Because if it worked, meaning it kept you alive and it kept you in something that felt like normal and familiar, then it's going to do that again, even if to the part of your higher mind or the part of your dream or desire you know it's not working. This system takes a little bit longer to move than just your conscious mind. It's like you can have the thought of a meal and eat it within 2 minutes, and your body then spends the next 4 to 6 hours digesting. So the body takes a longer time to create a shift to what is a new normal than just having the idea or the thought of it. And so when I say things like that, when we're bringing ourselves into an ever more now state, it's to start to see that when we're in constant state of the past, even if it's not mentally, but the body is so triggered and reacted and emotional to states of the past, then we assume that the past projects a future. So now all our future is just this somewhat slightly differentiated future. And then there's so few moments where we're able to stop, pause, and reflect long enough to choose, what do I want my response to be? And so when we're starting to understand presence viscerally, not just conceptually, it's so that we start to open up a choice of authenticity of how do I want to respond in this moment, rather than where is my past unprocessed emotion constantly triggering me back to, okay? When we're looking at health in the system, we really are looking at any given moment, how much choice do I have for a new or true experience that isn't just responding the way I saw my guardians or my parents respond, the way I had to self-protect. And you'll know it, like sometimes when you're meeting with somebody or you're interacting with somebody and they've already assumed your response, but it was a response from like their past relationship, it had nothing to do with you. You see how much we just expect the past to constantly be the new now, to be the future. And then we have so little places where we get to update this software computer. So when the body is constantly seeking and the nervous system is constantly seeking familiar, familial, a normal state, it doesn't mean that's the state that has your highest, best, most vibrant, most desired state. It means it worked before, so let's continue it. So if you're going to create a new experience, if you're going to have a new experience run through your nervous system, one of the most important things to first and foremost get is a fundamental feeling, a visceral feeling of safety. It doesn't matter how high you want to go into realms of, wisdom and higher consciousness and love and spirit and, thinking of big things philosophically. If the body doesn't feel safe, if there's a tension in your psoas that keeps gripping, if there's a grip of the diaphragm, if there's a clench in the lungs and the heart, if there's a grip of the jaw, it doesn't matter how much your conceptual mind wants to ascend forward. The primary need of this body, evolutionarily speaking, is to be safe, okay? And so when I explained the bodies yesterday, the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, the light body, the spirit body, each of those bodies are going to have their own understanding of what safety is. But for some of us, some of you, safety and familiarity might not be the same thing. And so sometimes the way we get that feeling of safety, almost all the times, there's sometimes that's not the case, but almost all the time, where you get safety and that new updated place of familiar is in the fact of present moment awareness. Even if you're in like the throes of conflict or you're the throes of a fight, if you can start to come into the fact of sun is shining, ground, gravity, breath, heart, body's okay, I'm okay for now, everything's okay for now, that little micro moment of fact showing that you are physically, emotionally, and mentally safe will start to discharge some of the stress to help you open up more choice. When we're moving into states of fear, sometimes that's the only thing we can do is get into the one moment we're in and prove to ourselves through fact, not magical thinking, but fact, that right now this body is safe. That in itself is going to open up so much more choice, because what happens is when we're starting to come more into presence, more into now, more into new, more into choice, we'll see that some of the things that we called love, called safety, called intimacy, whatever you want them to be, let's work with love and safety. Some of the things we called love and safety to our new system, our now system, actually have nothing to do with that. So if you were raised in an environment that had some volatility, any level of abuse, it can be subtle to egregious, because know that everybody stores stress and trauma subjectively. So one child could have been physically abused, the other child could have been, left with a grandparent for too long, and those might not seem like the same thing, but how somebody internalizes it is their subjective level of stress and trauma. And so say somebody was growing up with any level of abuse from a guardian or from somebody that they felt love for. Then what the nervous system will do is it goes and attempts to replicate an experience that feels like normal, familiar, and familial. And then what happens as we start to grow and as we start to expand into different attachments with peers and different guardians, and we put ourselves into new environments, and there's grace, and grace gives us a different experience of a love that feels more safe. Then all of a sudden, that old model that said love kind of feels like abuse, guardianship kind of doesn't feel safe. When the system has a new experience, that concept of what was love or guardianship that's safe starts to up-level. And then you will grow way less tolerant for what felt like love, but was really just, a lack of emotional safety. Does that make sense? Like, let me see a couple of heads. Is that okay? And so when we're trying to put ourselves constantly in a new moment, factually safe, present moment, it's to give this system a chance to start to create new pathways neurologically, emotionally, psychically, for something that feels more like the state of grace, love, safety, that feels more true for our beingness. Okay? With present moment awareness, coming into fact, coming into sensation, and the breath you're currently on are 3 incredible doorways to get you there. If you are a longtime practitioner of presence, know that everything I'm saying, even if you've read it and heard it and practiced it, is coming to you for the first time. And so that kind of like present moment awareness, like, sensation, breath, that it's not just something you say, yeah, I know this. Yeah, I know that. I've practiced that. We're really constantly putting that mind on a break so that we let ourselves too be these updated relationships. The breath you're currently on and anything your sense organs can pick up on are always going to bring you back to the moment you're actually in. 10 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, the moment you're actually in is full, safe, provided for, and okay. The slipstream of the mind that wants to just get into a unprocessed past that has regret, shame, and blame to it, or wants to maneuver itself to a pretend future that has paranoia, worry, anxiety, and potential catastrophe. Those places, when I get into the nervous system today, you're going to see how hard it is to metabolize things that aren't happening. I'll tell you what that does in a little bit. I'll make myself a note on that one. But here for this next practice, that the breath you're currently on and anything that you can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, or sense is going to interrupt, even for a mere moment, the groove of thought that's going past, future, or logistical. And that little interruption of, where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Is going to constantly be putting you back in a fact that is safe, provided for, and full. Because, we have people from all over the world. We have almost 80 people. And right now, that is the only truth that's occurring for you in this mere moment. Breath is happening for you. Heart is beating for you. Temperature is taken care of. Gravity is still working. Your outer world is relatively at peace. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. And sometimes in life, we're not even allowed to leave that moment because there's so much chaos and destruction everywhere else. But if I can just get into that one little moment, that one little moment lets my nervous system feel safe, that's actually factual and occurring. Just that alone will clear so much stored past. Okay? So the breath you're currently on and sensation are going to be geolocators. And when you really start to understand the nature of the mind and you see how little time we spend in the moment that's actually occurring, how little time I'm in my body, how little time I'm in the only place that everything is happening, it becomes remarkable that we can get anything done. It's like all of us, it's changed since I moved to New York City. I don't drive as much anymore, but those of you that drive, I'm sure you've started in your garage and then you got to somewhere you were going 20, 30 minutes later, and you have no idea how A to Z happened. Thank God for muscle memory and the subconscious mind and the ability of a nervous system. But one of my favorite teachers is Richard Rohr, this amazing Franciscan priest. I'll send you these names as we go. When he talks about meditation or contemplative meditation of prayer that we'll get into next Sunday, he so brilliantly says that the present moment is the place where everything occurs, but where the mind says is never enough. It's too cold. I'm too hungry. I wish it were different. I wish it was already over. I wish it was filled with opinion of what it thinks would make a perfect moment better. No, perfect is not perfection. Perfect is an as-is state. An as-is state where for some way the heart beats and that bird song can just come to my ear and my voice travels to your ear and you understand language and, the earth is the perfect distance from the sun that life is possible, like the perfect moment. But that the mind always says, I wish it were. Wish I weren't thinking so much. I wish I weren't so distracted. I wish I had. And then we get into the state of wishing that will always move us into the shame and the regret of a past or the anxiety and the panic of a future. Okay, so I'll say it again for this next practice. The breath you're currently on is such a seminal cue for meditation, yoga, cognitive therapy, neurolinguistic programming, anything that starts to rework or rewire the brain. The breath is so seminal because it's the only thing that's constant and changing. So even though, it's a really simple process, it's a complex process chemically, but a simple inhale and exhale, its constancy, but its constancy of change, always gives the mind something to anchor, 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 anchor. Like I said yesterday, you are not attempting to hold presence. You are not attempting to quiet the mind. That is too much resistance and it will not work. You're not even attempting to stay anywhere. What you're doing is you're noticing more and more each time you distract, and then you're building the musculature of how to return. The breath is an incredible thing to just anchor yourself to come back, come back, come back. If you have to come back 1,000 times in our next 20-minute sit, you're 1,000 times more built in that muscle of returning, not staying, but returning to the moment you're actually in. And the more we groove that, the more when you're in heightened states of fight and conflict and actual fear and actual stress, the more you're going to have that quicker little habitual groove of, where am I? Come back. Where am I? Come back. When you come back, it's only and always the only place there's choice. Only and always the only place there's choice. I come back into present moment and I can say, oh, wait, here I am. I want to relax my face. I want to deepen my breath. I now all of a sudden have agency again. I have power again. Okay? The breath you're currently on will always bring you back, as will sensation. Sensation we teach more subtly because most people have such a story and narrative to sensation. You saw it yesterday with tight jaw or gripped chest or held psoas or low back, knee, whatever it is. That sensation, if you can use it as pure information to bring you back to the moment you're in by way of the body, you're here. As soon as it goes into, I don't like this, I wish it were different, what's wrong with me, maybe my throat's blocked, my heart's still closed from him, we're gone, okay? Sensation just brings you back, and then we sit with what is, sit with what is, sit with what is, okay? So we're going to move into a next 20-minute practice, and with this next 20-minute practice, it's going to be locating you in your body. The only place there is ever reality and choice. Got you, Linz. Thank you. And so I'm going to pause.